And let's get right in it. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Can you guys see this okay?
Okay.
Okay. Um, so today, as you mentioned, we're going to be talking about Sunray. This is Immunotech's new vitamin D. Now, you may ask, why would Immunotech launch a vitamin D? Isn't this something that's already available? Isn't this something that most companies already sell? Well, by the end of this presentation, you'll know why this is different and why this is special. This is not just regular vitamin D. It's a new and special form of vitamin D called calcifediol. Calcifediol, a new word. It would be good if you became familiar with it. Calcifediol is truly a new way to raise vitamin D. And of course, it's proven by science, just like all of Immunotech's products. Now, here's something extraordinary. Until now, it had only been available by prescription. In other words, only doctors had access to this, and you needed a prescription. Now, we at Immunotech have the rights to bring everyone this product. Now, let's look at the problem. Listen to this. Vitamin D deficiency affects just about half of the world's population. Yes, 50% of us are likely to be vitamin D deficient. And this is actually a pandemic. And this has been shown in multiple epidemiological studies. Now, let's look at where we get our vitamin D. Most of the vitamin D we have comes from sun exposure. This represents at least 80% of the vitamin D that we have, but less sun means less vitamin D. But we can and we need to get more vitamin D from our diet. We try to eat foods with a good amount of vitamin D, but this is not always possible given what we've done to the nutritional quality of our foods. So we may often be taking supplemental vitamin D as well. So here's where it gets a little bit complicated. The vitamin D that we get from the sun and that we get from our food and that we get from traditional vitamin D supplements, all of these need to pass through the liver to be transformed into a form of vitamin D that is actually usable by the body. This usable form is called 25-OHD. Now, why do we need to understand this? Why do we need to know that these vitamin D sources need to be transformed by the liver? Because there's a way around this. If we get our source of vitamin D as calcifediol or sunray, we can bypass the liver and get it directly into the blood. In fact, if you look at the chemical formula of calcifediol or sunray, it's actually the same as the vitamin D levels we measure in the blood. It's the true form of vitamin D that our body uses. So, what are some common causes of low vitamin D? Well, knowing that exposure to the sun is a source of at least 80% of our vitamin D, there's some obvious reasons. The biggest one is living in northern areas of the world. That's the number one reason. Air pollution, which blocks the sun, is another. Staying indoors is another. And certainly, not getting enough vitamin D in your daily nutrition. Again, this is often challenging to do. But did you know that being overweight is a cause? And I can say, even without knowing who's listening on this call, that 2/3 of you are statistically overweight. So you need to be paying attention. Or being older, another cause of low vitamin D. And I'm definitely in that category. Or having a dark complexion. This will affect the way you absorb sunlight. And other things like intestinal malabsorption, kidney or liver impairment, and many more reasons. I can go on and on. So let's look at some other functions of vitamin D. Well, we're all aware of the role of vitamin D in bone development. We all know about that. This is the classic use of vitamin D, is its role in bone health. But most of us are not aware that vitamin D plays many roles that are unrelated to bone health, what we call extraskeletal or non-classic roles. Just look at the areas that are associated with non-skeletal vitamin D deficiency. Everything from neurodegenerative disease to psychiatric disease, infection, allergy, autoimmune diseases, even different cancers. Just a whole bunch of different problems that can arise from having low vitamin D levels. And let's not forget the immune system. Here's a slide that just touches upon the roles that vitamin D plays here. And of course, the immune system is something that we at Immunotech hold close to our heart. And please note, it's been shown in multiple studies that proper vitamin D metabolism depends on having good glutathione levels. Many people, even if they're taking high doses of vitamin D, are still not getting the full value of their vitamin D without proper glutathione levels. So once again, let's review the pharmacological sources of vitamin D supplementation. There's vitamin D3, which most of you are familiar with. This is called cholecalciferol. There's vitamin D called ergocalciferol. And finally, there's calcifediol, which is Immunotech's new Sunray. Now, here's an example of how these are metabolized. You have vitamin D in the blood measured as 25-OHD. Right? So you've seen that before. So this is already there. It's already sprouted. It's already alive. If you use standard vitamin D, like vitamin D2 or vitamin D3, you need to wait for it to grow into the more mature plant. And you hope that everything goes right. It may not. It's slow and it's inconsistent. But if you use calcifediol or Sunray, you're using a new plant right off. It's already sprouted, it's already grown. You save the time and inherent problems with having to grow it from scratch. Much faster, much more efficient. And how do these compare? How does Sunray differ from standard vitamin D in regards to efficacy, speed, and other factors? This has been thoroughly examined. Forget about the details in this slide. They show multiple studies that have proven this. The bottom line is that calcifediol or Sunray is easily more effective, faster, and more efficient. This has been shown in study after study. Let's look at some advantages that Sunray or calcifediol has over standard vitamin D. Number one, as mentioned earlier, Sunray does not have to pass through the liver. This is major, and it's already in the form that your body uses. Two, in cases of intestinal problems where absorption is compromised, Sunray is better absorbed than standard vitamin D. These graphs illustrate that. Three, Sunray is more potent. It requires lower doses than conventional vitamin D. This graph shows that a lower dose of sunray gives a greater effect than standard vitamin D. 4, sunray is more hydrophilic. What does that mean? It means that it's more attracted to water rather than fat. Why is this important? Because conventional vitamin D is retained in fatty tissue and not released. That's why overweight people are vitamin D deficient. This form is more stored in water-soluble tissues. 5, sunray works faster than other vitamin D sources. Serum vitamin D levels normalize quicker than compared to standard vitamin D. Now, one more very important feature. Doctors and scientists have looked at compliance. In other words, how many people will stick to taking their pills and supplements. And they all agree that having to take a supplement less frequently means better adherence and better compliance. So sticking to a once a week regimen is far easier than having to take something every day. And here's the good news. Sunray only needs to be taken once a week. Yes, once a week. And you can take it with pretty much any liquid you want, just don't bite into them. And you could take it at any time of the day. Yes, once a week, and the results are far better than other vitamin D supplements that need to be taken daily. 75 micrograms once a week, and that's it. So to summarize, now you don't need a doctor's prescription to get calcifediol, which is what sunray is. You only need to take one each week. It's clearly better than the vitamin D supplements out there, and it works quicker and more effective than your standard vitamin D. Let's just take a quick review of the benefits that can be expected, and there are many. The effect on bone health is something that we've known about for decades. Sunray will work faster and, more importantly, more efficiently than the vitamin D that you're using now. We cannot overemphasize the importance of sunray on the many immune benefits that it provides. Expect to see improvements in mood. For example, less anxiety, less depression, a more optimistic viewpoint. And we can go on to discuss other effects that it'll have on your brain function, on hormone regulation, on balancing your sugar levels, on maintaining optimal blood pressure, on your muscles, and the list goes on. And finally, remember to take care of your glutathione levels. Having normal glutathione is critical for proper vitamin D function. So sunray represents a real breakthrough in vitamin D delivery. Something that was only previously available by doctor's prescription is now available to you without a prescription through Immunotech. Again, a cutting-edge supplement from Immunotech. So use it well.
Hello,